I woke up that night with the crushing certainty that I was about to die, which, in hindsight, is a pretty dramatic way to start falling in love. But that is how my life works, I guess. Disaster first, feelings later. The air in my small rented room in Northern California felt heavy enough to crack. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. Something pressed down on my chest with the weight of 1,000 unspoken secrets. For a moment I thought it was sleep paralysis, the kind I used to get as a kid. But this time the presence wasn't cold. It was warm, strangely warm. When I finally ripped myself awake with a gasp, the room snapped back into focus. Moonlight spilled through the curtains. My heart hammered. And on the far side of the room, a figure stood watching me. A boy. He looked my age, maybe 22, with hair that fell around his face in unbrushed waves, like he had been waiting for years in the dark without realizing time had passed. His eyes were the worst part, or the best part, or both. Lonely in a way I had never seen before. Empty in all the places where sunlight should have lived. I blinked and he was gone. For 3 nights straight it happened again. The weight on my chest, the frozen limbs, the warm breath hovering above my skin. And then, just before I could fully open my eyes, the shape of him flickering in and out like half-finished firelight. By the 4th night, I wasn't terrified anymore. I was curious. And maybe, in a way I didn't understand yet, I was drawn to him. I worked during the day at a local grocery store, pretending everything was normal. Pretending I hadn't started looking forward to the moment my body shut down and sleep dragged me under again. Pretending I didn't want to see him. The nightmares became dreams. And the dreams became something else. The first time he touched me in a dream, it didn't feel like a nightmare at all. The world around us was a blurred hush, like we were the only 2 people left on Earth. He reached out with trembling fingers, brushing my cheek as though I might vanish. His touch was cool but not cold, like early morning air on bare skin. "You can see me," he whispered. His voice sounded like someone learning how to speak again. "What are you?" I asked, breath unsteady. He looked at me as if the question hurt. "I don't know anymore." When he stepped closer, my heart did the strange fluttering thing it only ever did around people I could never admit I liked. Boys like the classmate I used to stare at too long in high school. Boys like the stranger I once sat next to on a cross-country train and never saw again. Boys like him. In the dream, the ground beneath us dissolved into an endless field stretching under a soft American sky. He stood opposite me, wind running through his hair like fingers. "Why me?" I asked. His eyes lifted to mine, soft and scared. "Because you're the only one who ever looks at me like I'm real." The honesty of it hit me like a punch. Nobody had ever said something like that to me. Nobody had ever needed me like that. His loneliness seeped into me, filling the places where my own loneliness lived. An unspoken recognition passed between us. "I'm Aiden," he said quietly, as if giving me the name cost him something. "I'm Ethan." He smiled, then this small, hesitant smile that made my chest ache. The dream started to dissolve, pulling him away like fog unraveling in the sun. His hand reached out, desperate, almost touching mine before everything vanished. I woke up gasping, reaching for a boy who did not exist. Except he did exist. Because the next night he returned. And the next. Our dreams became our meeting place, a world only we could enter. Some nights we sat on rooftops overlooking cities we invented together. Some nights we lay in a field watching stars drift across the sky like paper lanterns. He told me he didn't remember his life, only the feeling of being forgotten. He said the darkness was less painful when I was in it. And me? I didn't know how to tell him that meeting him was the closest thing I had ever felt to falling in love. But love stories aren't supposed to start in nightmares. They aren't supposed to begin with shadows sitting on your chest in the middle of the night. And yet, here we were. Even as I felt something beautiful growing between us, there was fear curled beneath it. Aiden flickered sometimes, like his existence was unstable, like he didn't have much time left. And one night, as he lay beside me in the dream landscape we had created together, he said something that made my blood freeze. "I think I'm disappearing." Aiden's voice cracked when he said it, the way glass fractures under too much pressure. The dream around us responded instantly. The sky dimmed, the air thickened, the colors drained from the horizon like someone was slowly erasing the world with a trembling hand. "You're not disappearing," I insisted, pulling him closer as if that alone could anchor him. "You're here. You're with me." He shook his head, the movement barely there. "Ethan, I'm only real because you believe I am. But belief can't hold a person together forever." "That's not true." "You're waking up," he whispered. No, not yet, but my vision was already thinning, turning transparent at the edges. Aiden's fingers slipped from mine like smoke. His eyes widened with panic, and in the last second before everything shattered, he whispered my name like a plea. I woke up with tears drying on my face. For the first time since meeting him, the room felt cold. Not the kind of cold caused by an open window or early November wind. This was the cold of being alone after knowing what it felt like to not be. I spent the day at work distracted, miscounting change, shelving items in the wrong aisles. My manager asked if I was sick. I didn't have the heart to say I was lovesick for a boy who lived in my dreams and maybe my nightmares and maybe nowhere at all. That night, exhaustion dragged me under fast, but the dream didn't come. There was no field, no sky, no Aiden, just darkness. The absence of him was a pain I didn't know how to name. For 3 nights in a row, nothing happened. No dreams, no paralysis, no gentle weight on my chest, just silence. By the 4th night, I felt like I was unraveling. My chest ached with the sharp, ridiculous grief of losing someone who technically might not exist. But he did exist to me. That had to count for something. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, whispering into the dark. "Aiden, please, come back." Nothing. Until suddenly everything. The air thickened. My limbs froze. Panic surged. But underneath it was relief so powerful it almost hurt. A warm presence settled on my chest. The paralysis dissolved, but the warmth didn't. Slowly, I opened my eyes. Aiden sat above me, knees on either side of my hips, moonlight threading through him like strands of silver. But he wasn't flickering this time. He looked solid, alive, terrified. "You called me," he whispered, and I didn't know whether to cry or laugh or pull him into my arms. "You left." "I thought I had to," he said, voice shaking. "I thought I was hurting you, that you were only dreaming me into existence because you were lonely." "That's not why," I whispered, reaching up. My hand hovered inches from his face. "I want you here because you matter to me." The expression that crossed his face was so human it made my throat tighten. His breath hitched, and he leaned into my touch as though he had been waiting his entire life for someone to touch him like that. "Ethan," he whispered, eyes closing. "I don't want to disappear." "Then don't. It's not that simple." "Then let's make it simple." He opened his eyes, staring down at me with a kind of fragile awe. "How?" I didn't know. I had no idea how an entity tied to dreams could cross into the real world. But I knew what I felt. And sometimes, feelings have a way of rewriting rules. "Stay," I said simply. The room flickered once, then twice. Aiden's form trembled as though reality was pulling at him. But he pressed both hands to my chest, leaning down until his forehead touched mine. "You make me real," he breathed. A soft light began to build around him, warm and tender like a sunrise unfolding. My heart pounded, and for a moment I thought I was dreaming again. But then the pressure on my chest vanished. My limbs loosened, the world steadied, and Aiden remained, still sitting in my lap, still breathing, still solid, still here. His eyes widened in disbelief. "Ethan, I can feel the air. I can feel you." His palm brushed my cheek, trembling. I've never felt anything before. Emotion surged through me too fast to control. The joy, the fear, the relief, the overwhelming sense that I had just been given something impossibly precious. "Aiden," I whispered, voice breaking. "You're real." He leaned forward, forehead resting against mine again, his breath warm on my lips. "If I am," he murmured, "it's because you wanted me to be." And then he kissed me, Soft, terrified, beautiful. His fingers slid into my hair like he was afraid I'd slip away. But I wasn't going anywhere. Not now. Not ever. When we finally parted, he exhaled shakily, eyes shining. What happens now? I wrapped my arms around him, pulling him against my chest, feeling the impossible weight of him, the proof that he existed, that he chose to stay. Now, I said softly, we figure out a future neither of us thought we could have. Outside, dawn crept over the horizon, brushing gold against the edges of the world. And for the first time since this all began, I didn't dread waking up, because Aiden woke up with me. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated with the latest videos.